Nation, I've got Colleen Kessler, a VR and action sports producer, live on the show with us. Now, this is our first live Techsplanation episode. We're doing this at the Pre-NAB event, and I say pre because NAB's tomorrow. But today we're talking about action sports, VR, women in the technology genre, and we're gonna have a little fun, right?
Yeah,
All
absolutely.
Right, good. Okay, so Techsplanation starts right now. Let's start with Colleen.
Yes.
Who are you? What do you do?
Nick, you've known me too long.
I know, but I want them to know you. So you're an action sports producer. You're a VR producer. You've been working with VR for a long time, so you kind of know the pitfalls. We're going to talk about that.
Yeah.
But tell me what you've been doing.
I actually finished a huge production, almost a year-long production in VR, traveling the world for the Olympic Channel. Well, it went to the Olympic Channel platform, but it was supported by Jaunt cameras. Have you seen those? Jaunt cameras are the 26 camera spherical array. It's not really array, it's a spherical camera. And it shoots in stereoscopic. It's amazing, so you're getting that true virtual experience.
How many pixels is that? I mean, that's got to be ridiculous.
Yeah. Don't hit me with the pixels.
No, it's all good. It was just a nightmare to manage, I'm sure.
Yeah, it wasn't that bad. We, the crews that we had, the one camera guy that we had was amazing. He worked for Jaunt, and he put everything up to the cloud. It was all cloud-based stitching. They brought it back. We used small Nikon key mission cameras and Verb, the Garmin cameras, which are awesome. Yeah. And then we mounted them. So those were our next step into that immersive action sport kind of thing that I know more about. And
All right, so you've been knee deep in VR and AR. Now you also did a stint with Drone Racing League for a while too.
I did.
And that's the action sport side. That one's fun.
Yeah.
Yeah. So talk to me about what that experience was. I mean, you were managing a lot of media, and talking with JT and the teams, that was a ton of cameras.
Yeah. I think they had at some point it was up to 30 or 40 cameras that they had on the course, and the media that was coming in, they wanted to try to do it as quick as possible, as live as possible, but you had to get high resolution, and you're only seeing this drone go by for a very fast amount of time. These things are going so fast.
As you're getting like 2 or 3 frames, right? It's done.
It's
Where
done.
to go? It's done.
Right.
All right.
So there's lots of slow-mo that has to be done. So nothing could have been, we really couldn't do that, or they couldn't do that in a live atmosphere at the time. It was more of a post situation where they cut down heats, and I came in as a producer for the last few shows and helped to kind of build the storyline of the pilots, so that you wanted to be kind of involved in them and know their story a little bit more for the next season. So that was kind of fun telling stories with that. And then that following season is when they said, hey, we have Cat DV. Colleen, can you help us?
Yeah.
And,
show us where we're going wrong.
Yeah.
No, that's fine.
Yeah.
So from the VR and AR world, and I think everybody goes, okay, I want to get into VR, I want to do AR, and I want this. What does it take? I mean, what are the things that people need to think about that is different from traditional post?
Right.
It's one thing to set up a camera and say, boom, there it is. It's another thing to set up a camera and go, whoa, I'm in the shot.
Right. So there's this great presentation I do that it's called The Art of Getting Out of the Shot. And for cinematic VR, which is what I was shooting with Supersphere for Trending Gold, which was the Olympic Channel project, the big project, that was hilarious how we had to get out of the shot. And I would call companies saying, hey, we're with the Olympic Channel, we're coming to Austria, and we need an audio guy. And the audio guy would see this as a big boost. And they go, oh, I need to bring my assistant, and I need to bring another person. And I had to explain, I need as few people on set as possible, because you don't understand, we're on a white snow glacier and we have nowhere to hide. I can't have a lot of people up there. So it's a pretty interesting scenario.
It's a totally different dynamic.
Right.
I mean, you're used to seeing a set with 500 people back here and everything pointed that way. Now that's out the door.
Yeah.
From a post-production standpoint, I mean, even just from a producer standpoint, are you able to see the media pretty quickly, or do you have to wait for some post time to be able to look to decide if you got the shots, especially if you're doing stitching?
Absolutely, you can see it quickly. You can see it. We're actually watching it on an iPad as the content's being shot, so we can set the scene scene up. We can see what's kind of wrong, if there's a little bit of lighting going wrong, and some of the cameras you actually can dial down the iris and the shutter speeds on a couple of the cameras on the back of the bulb, and then adjust them to the front of the camera too.
Kind of get the balance out of the whole sphere. Yeah, because if you had one that went really dark, you'd be panning an image. Nighttime, daytime, it'd be different.
Yeah.
How is from a producer standpoint, in trying to choose shots, do you tend to find yourself scanning the whole sphere, or are you looking for your action moment or that key moment that's happening in just one end of the sphere?
No, you have to look at the entire. I mean, there's this great outtake on our outtakes, or the behind the scenes video that we did, where our director Corey is kind of explaining, look, typically in typical video, you're looking for your frame. And here, you're kind of moving around the scene, looking up and down to kind of check your frame, and that's what it is. And then you run and hide. So it totally changes the way you think about what's in the scene. I have to watch out for a Coke bottle. I need to make sure there's not marketing that's not supposed to be in the scene. Taping everything, covering everything up, making sure we have things. Because the other part of it is you ultimately have to do some CG work or plating, which means wherever that tripod has been, you're going to see that in the scene too. We don't want that. We want it to be completely immersive. So instead, we have a guy, as soon as the camera is removed, we have a guy that comes by and takes still frames, plates, and then keys that in. So it looks like you're standing on that snow where that camera was.
And I understand the concept because there's videos that you get where you end up looking down and there's a logo or a circle or something there to distract from that. And it does take you out of the moment of, well, that was fun. I just realized this was post-produced. That's interesting. I guess that's the problem is you don't think of all these little issues until you get in there and play with it. And so from a perspective of types of cameras, so you mentioned like the Garmin cameras, the different ones you played with, what do you tend to prefer, a single or dual lens, or the spheres with a lot of lenses?
Well, what are we talking? Are we talking high-end professional level, or are we talking prosumer?
Is there a difference right now?
There's a big difference.
All right, what are they?
There's a big difference. You have your 2 camera lens, the bulbous kind of $500 camera that you can get, or maybe even lower. Some are going for $300. You've got your Samsungs. You've got the Key Mission. You have the Verb. They're good. They're great. That's kind of the GoPro of VR in so many ways, or even the Kodak Pixma, I think.
Yeah, I have the LG.
Okay.
Myself, a lot of. I like how it stitches in camera because I don't have.
Exactly.
There hasn't been a great layer of software up to this point either.
Right.
That's a big miss, and thankfully Adobe's answering that this year with their releases. It's good.
Yeah. But if you want to step into the prosumer or professional level, Zcam, Supersphere is working directly with Zcam right now. They're shooting, and you have the option to shoot 180 or 360. And the 180 is really robust. And in a lot of sports kind of scenarios, you might not want to waste that processing speed and that time on a 360 shot. You might just want that 180, and that's what
because that's where the action is.
Yeah, that's where
everything else would be audience members sitting behind. Although you might get something good out of the audience.
Yeah,
you never know.
Yeah, exactly.
The best stuff comes from cameramen who've panned the audience by accident.
That's right.
So if an organization is wanting to get into VR, they want to dip their toe, would you recommend a more consumer, hardware built cam that's all set up and ready to go, just to get their feet wet?
I'm going to say, really, your audience and your vendors and everything like that, I think they need to step forward a little bit faster into AR. They need to start stepping into AR. AR for commerce is taking over, and getting in 3D scanning of products. That is about to take off, and if you aren't able to provide that, then you're missing the market on how to do that. So AR, definitely. VR for immersive experiences into workspaces. And I'm taking it very, very low, not in the entertainment world, but I'm taking it very low end business, why businesses would want this. So businesses want this to walk into your business, feel like you're there, understand the experience, and maybe even augmented reality shopping, where you actually have handset, and you can pull things off the shelf, put it in your shopping cart, and then that will show up at your house through Instacart or Amazon or whatever within a day or that night. So that's the AR. I think the AR is really where
the future is.
Where
right now.
we need to start pointing our kids to start learning those software. We need to start explaining that's the monetization that we need.
That's the mass consumer, right?
Right.
Because there's not enough headsets out there for true VR experiences.
Yeah.
They just haven't really taken off that way.
Yeah.
From that perspective. So getting this, I see the AR side, that'd be interesting.
Yeah.
And we've had some clients that have called and asked for AR or VR inside their offices so they can interview people and show them where they might work and give them that experience from that perspective.
Yeah. And the other thing is with VR is it's the two biggest issues are the headset. It's just, you gotta really get people ready to get into a headset and have that experience. And when you put it on, all of a sudden you have software updates or you have some other things. So, and then there's the other problem is monetization. People are still struggling on how can I go to Coca-Cola and how can I monetize this effectively? How can I show KPIs? How can I show any of this, that this is worth it for them, the investment that they're about to make? But it's interesting, like SuperSphere, the company that I was working for last year, they've built this fly pack that is a complete live production, 2, maybe 3 box fly pack that's amazing. And it brings in 360, 180, 4K and HD, and you can do, it's all based off of geometry, of whatever geometry you're bringing in and what your deliverable will be. But what they've done is they haven't, through their encoder, you can go to the CDN, that they have a proprietary CDN built for them, and it can go directly to their platform. So the client platform will be able to monetize that content rather than it having to go to YouTube or live stream or something like that. So that's a monetization answer, and that's something for other companies to start thinking about.
I think people are still struggling with monetizing a single plane, let alone a virtual one. That's going to be. So just out of curiosity, did you see Ready Player One yet?
I haven't.
Okay.
I know. I thought we should talk about that, but I haven't seen it.
Yeah, from a VR perspective, I think that my favorite part of the movie is they're driving down the road and everybody's wearing headsets as they're walking around town. You know, they're all in this VR world all the time. And I'm like, I don't see that happening yet. That's a little ways away.
Yeah.
But it's still an interesting concept of what could be people immersing themselves inside of another environment. And it's sort of like 3D. It's a great looking idea, but it hasn't really emboldened outside the movie theater or the gaming experience.
Yeah.
So it'll be interesting to see how that grows over time.
Yeah.
Where is, for somebody to really learn, especially on AR, where do you go? Especially for my kids, if I want to coach them to say, hey, this is what you're going to learn in the world of AR, where's the best resources right now? Where would you?
Go online and learn Unreal or Unity. Start there, learn those two software. There are tons of workshops online. Start with those two. Our kit that was released by Apple and our core that was released by Android, those two have changed the game for AR. Once they started allowing it to be open developer or open source,
it's right here, right?
It's all there. And that Pokemon Go, that was AR, and that is what got everyone moving on what it is. Then you have IKEA, and you have Overstock.com, where they're totally using it for commerce. Amazon just started doing 3D scanning of their products to start doing AR. And how that works is, I don't want to go to IKEA because I cannot stand the weekend lines, right? and I'm in the rat trap game or whatever. But instead, I can go online onto their platform, and that Kimla table or whatever the Swedish name. Yeah. Oh, there you go. Yeah.
That one.
That you can put that into your room with AR and see how it's going to fit, and it's there. It's all augmented and there.
Yeah, it's the first, and it's funny because it's the first mass adoption. You mentioned Pokemon Go. That was the first time. I don't think people realized they were playing AR.
Yeah.
You hit it right. They were engaged in it. They were just playing this game all over town.
And cool, how is this showing up of where I am, and the geolocating and everything. The mapping was fantastic with that.
On the media and entertainment side, if you've got smaller studios or even a producer coming into the game, would you recommend them getting into one of the more prosumer cams as a starting place?
Yeah.
Because the post-production story all changes.
Yeah.
And especially like we said earlier, there haven't been a lot of great tool sets at an affordable price
Right.
for editing VR content. Most of them were $1,000 or more for a license.
Well, no, Final Cut. You edit Final Cut, VR with Final Cut, no problem. All of our trending gold series was edited by Duncan Shepherd in Final Cut.
All right, that's rare because I don't hear a lot of people still. I hear a lot of independent producers running on Final Cut. I don't hear of a lot of teams or bigger facilities.
Yeah,
so
Final Cut edits it fine. Sometimes what I'll do, I have a Samsung and I have a Verb and I have a Theta, and sometimes I'll just run out. I like to run out and just shoot a scene, not worry about action, and then I take animated kind of green screen imagery and have it coming in and out of trees, and I just kind of push myself, and I always test myself on products first. So I do it in Final Cut and see how that is, and I'll do it in Premiere and kind of see how that workflow is, so that I at least know how to talk about the use of it.
Yeah.
So coming from a producer who's stepping into it, sure, get out there and shoot it.
Yeah.
Know what your pain points are, know what your stop gaps are in the production, so that if you have to build out a budget, you know what's going to take a little bit more time.
Right.
Now, what was great with the production with Trending Gold is we had small crews, and we had to keep that cost down because we knew that post cost was going to be a little high. We were using drones, and if you shoot with a drone, you have to key out all the little, what are they, propellers and everything. Yeah, you had to key all of that out, and that's a high post cost.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
What about, so within the post-production process, are you finding, because these, again, it's not one 1080p stream on some of these, especially on the bigger cameras, that's multiple streams, it's a bigger file size.
Yeah.
Was the post side harder because the big file sizes? Was there more rendering time?
Yeah, you work in proxies.
Okay.
You start with proxies, especially at that level, and the time constraints, and we were getting QC from Madrid. Our QC, they had to prove everything, so they were checking everything in Madrid of what we were shooting here. Wow. So we had a time thing, we had to send everything over the internet, to our clients. So we worked in proxy, and then once the proxy was approved, then everything else went to CG for clearing of CG, and then the upres.
Got it.
Yeah.
Now, just out of curiosity, if somebody's jumping into VR and wants help, you're available.
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay. So
yeah,
if you're out there and you're saying, I need help figuring out the VR story, call Colleen.
Yeah.
She's got it.
Yeah.
She's got the experience. Okay, so let's talk about NAB right now.
Yeah.
We're here.
Yes.
Kicks off tomorrow. We got a ton of fun happening out there, as you can hear through the mic, the overflowness. What are you excited about this year? What are you hearing in announcement-wise, and have you heard anything?
I've heard some stuff. Where I'm kind of focusing a little bit more is I get into this camera tech. I am so into what the cameras are able to do now.
Yeah.
So the VR cameras, what they're capable of. I'm personally looking for off-the-grid cameras that I can stream from. I have a client that I want to bring this technology to. I want 4K delivery off the grid. If I have to go through 5G or whatever in order to deliver it to an international news
4K,
space.
you're probably going to want that to be bonded.
Yeah,
multiple cell signals.
Yeah.
Let's talk offline. I stumbled on something new I want to show you.
Okay, good.
Yeah.
So that's one thing. In live production, I'm kind of trying to stem in a little bit more into
live switching,
Yeah.
All right, nice. There's definitely some interesting stuff on that.
Yeah.
We talked earlier about NDI and what that does.
NDI is a new concept for me.
Yeah. So imagine taking that camera right there, that PTZ camera, and only plugging an Ethernet cable into it, and then running that cable over to the switch. Well, no, because it could go power over Ethernet. So literally, you can have one cable running to that camera that delivers you signal, control, power, everything you need, CCU. So and that's being delivered over the NDI technology, which is amazing. So it's really changing the dynamic of how I cable a room or where I can run that from.
That's
because
fantastic.
It doesn't have to be in this room either.
Right.
This camera could be in another part of the building as long as it's on the same network. And that's.
And did you say there's a wireless possibility?
Yeah,
with that?
Where's the Spark's over there.
Okay.
I can't reach it. Yeah, I'll grab the Spark and we'll show you afterwards. But
cool.
Oh wait, hold on. Our lovely assistant is going to. He's cute. He's running like a chicken with his head cut off. He goes, I know it's here. No worries. I think it's shoved behind the corner over here. But yeah, there is a wireless box that will take an SDI or an HDMI and then transmit over. Now, the issue that we found with wireless video is you've got to make sure the WAP, the receiving device, has the throughput, the bandwidth. Some of them only support a number of devices, some of them only number of throughput, in terms of, hey, I'm a 300 meg router or I'm a 150 meg router, right? So you want to ensure that WAP is enterprise grade or high quality, or limit the amount of devices that are connected to it. There it is.
It's Nutex Connect Spark.
So it's got a couple of antennas attached to it. This is the SDI version,
and
then there's your Ethernet port or the Go Cure Wireless. Now, what's interesting on this one too is they've got an SD card.
This is where your antennas go, right?
And the SD card will start recording as soon as it's powered up. So if you got failure back in your transmission, you at least have a redundant record right here that you can pull out and then run.
You just have to make sure you set a timer so you know when that might run out.
Right, exactly.
That's great.
So they're cool little boxes, and they're not expensive. They're like $3.95 and $5.95.
I saw this on the Nutex site, and I was thinking about checking it out.
And there's a couple manufacturers we've noticed now that have put, rather than wireless, they're doing 5G. And so you got a 5G version. But the only problem that I'm finding with those is there's just a single transmitter. So you only get one SIM card. So you've kind of, you got to hope that your internet connection is great. They're not bonded on that side. But there are plenty of ways to pull it off, and that, I think, is an ever-growing market on that side. So you're looking for cameras, you're looking for all kinds of fun stuff, technology stuff. What's your, you and I were talking earlier about women in technology, and specifically at NAB, and I think you have a very unique perspective on this.
Yeah.
And I'd love to hear that again, and for the audience to hear that.
Okay, so the interesting thing is, I know NAB. I've been coming to NAB for 20
Don't say it.
something years.
Don't say it.
I know the games, I know how to play it, I know how to walk into a booth, but I run into this situation where I've been in the business long enough, I still walk in a booth and I am seen as this shiny unicorn. And
you're so pretty.
No, that's not what I'm coming from, though. It's because of other parts, right? But realistically, it takes me, and I've asked other women, it takes a woman walking into a booth at NAB 15 more minutes to get to the point of why they're in the booth, because I have to validate my value to you. I have to tell you, no, this is what I'm working on, this is who I'm working with, and I have to validate it. Whereas if I was a guy and I've walked in with guys and shadowed them before, it's, hey, this is what I want. Yeah, what do you want? What are you doing?
Yeah.
And then they're given the spiel and they don't waste anyone's time. Very quickly I can figure out if I have use for your product, if it's going to hit all the things. And it's funny because then when I go, this is what I need, X, Y, Z, can you do that? If you can't, I need to move on.
Yeah.
And when I do that, that's when they perk up, oh, let me go find someone else who can talk to you. So I think that vendors need to start paying attention that no matter who's walking into your booth, even if it appears to be a shiny unicorn, let's not waste each other's time. Let's get to the point of why we're here to do some business. Let's learn about the products and let's learn about each other, because there's things that I've brought to some vendors that they're like, wow, we haven't thought about trying this out or doing this. And we've been able to make a relationship off of that.
Well, and you're in the real world, as a producer trying these things. Yeah. You come with a unique perspective, and you also come with the experience of it didn't work, or it did work if I did this. Mm-hmm. So it almost becomes shut up and listen, or I always had these rules in NAB. It was like you get 5 minutes. Yeah. I walk into the booth, you get 5 minutes. If within 5 minutes I haven't heard what I want, I gotta move on. If I did hear, I'll give you 10 more on that side. But because we're limited on time, and I could understand the frustration of wasting that first 15 minutes just getting past the hurdle of, okay, now can we have the technical conversation, please?
So the other twist of that also is, CES is a new experience for me. I'm going to bring CES in at NAB just to kind of show a point. CES is a new experience. It's also younger newer product or newer generation.
Oh, yeah, it's definitely a younger generation there.
Right.
Yeah, it's
Right.
a different kind of show. It's a new generation of technology.
Yeah, it's a much more diverse environment for CES. And I've gone to CES for the past few years, and I've always kind of felt a little out of place. Like I'm still trying to navigate how to have those conversations because I'm talking with a very electronics kind of geeky, very much on the programming side of someone rather than you know what it takes to work in a TV truck, you know what it takes to work behind, you know, a desk or whatever. So at CES though, this past year, I'm seeing the change happening. Like I sat at a couple of meetings, I was the only female at the table, and every time I sat down at the table, I got a thank you, we are so happy to have you here.
Nice.
And I've never experienced that at NAB, which is except for you, Nick, for you guys. But we're getting there.
We're getting there. I mean, I think you're right. When you look across our show floor right now, I mean, it is definitely the proverbial
I want to say it.
Sausage fest.
Thank you.
Yeah, and in fact, even Jeff's son noticed that and said something about it. And it's like, but I think
I counted earlier, there are 8 women in this entire room. And I don't know if 8 of those women actually work in tech.
I got 9, but then I realized it was Bryson from North Shore. It was just his long hair. So we might be 7 on that side.
Yeah.
But okay, so then the message of this is not just to the manufacturers. What would you say to young women and even younger girls coming into this industry?
Right.
Should they? I mean, I don't see why they shouldn't. I want my daughter to go into this. I want her to enjoy media.
Right.
But you know, she's got to. What's the message then to them? Jump in, but be wary?
No. Here's the biggest trend that affects women, and this is across the board in business, is that we look at a job description and we want to hit 100% of those requirements. If I don't hit 100% I don't feel like I'm 90% of those requirements, I'm not going to apply for the job. Because I don't want to waste someone's time. Yeah. But a guy will do it in no time. And that's just the way we were brought up to. I think girls maybe follow rules. We're taught to follow rules a little bit more. Fortunately, I had parents that were okay with me breaking the rules a little bit. So I pushed myself a little bit outside of that. So don't be so intimidated by a job requirement. Go after it, do it, understand. But then the hiring managers have to know that any female that took the time to apply for that job did their due diligence to try to do it. So give them a little bit of extra oomph that they went for it. So that's one thing. And then for girls, learn Unity, learn Unreal.
Grace, are you paying attention? Unity, Unreal, stop watching YouTube, get with the program.
No, keep watching YouTube, but start thinking about what makes YouTube work.
No, that's true.
Yeah.
That's true.
Yeah.
All right. Colleen, thank you for being here. This has been fun.
Yeah.
It's actually a fun interview. I like this. This is good. So, all right, this has been Techsplanation. This is Colleen Kessler. I'm Nick Smith. Our show is over, and we'll see you on NAB show floor very shortly.
Bye. All right.